Welcome Guardians to the Guided Dog channel. On this video, we are going to be addressing a viewer submitted question, Krista P. from Ohio, who asks, why do dogs stare at you and always follow you around? So, I watched a documentary several years ago. I couldn't find it, so if anybody happens to know, they can link it where it might be. Please put it in the comments. That would be greatly appreciated. But in this documentary, it was a group of people who did a study on the difference between the domestic dog and the wolf as far as how they problem solve, what evolutionary differences are between them now, since there's several thousand years of selective breeding between the wild wolf and the domestic dog. And in this study, in this experiment, they set up a piece of food in a cage so that the dog and the wolf neither could access it. And they sat and waited to see what would happen. The wolf spent a great deal of time trying to figure out how to access the food in that cage very independently. The domestic dog, on the other hand, after spending a few minutes trying to figure out how to get at the food, eventually sat down and looked at the experimenters, the humans who were standing there, and was like, "You're gonna feed me, right?" And the difference there being that the dog had a learned dependency on humans and actually gave eye contact to the human for communication. So that's a huge difference between the two of them. One animal extremely independent of human intervention, and the other one very dependent in some cases. And further research, I know that not all breeds are like that, so there are definitely major differences and characteristics between the different dog breeds. So there is an article that I've linked in the description that talks about how companionate breeds, so Shih Tzus or Bichons or other dogs that were bred more to be companion dogs, the more companionate the breed, the more dependent that dog was on human intervention for things. The more they looked to humans for help with things, basically. So the working breeds, for example, Border Collies and German Shepherds, spent more time trying to problem solve on their own, and thus are a bit more like the behavior of the wolf than some of our more companionate breeds are. But nonetheless, it's very, very interesting to think that among the first dogs that were domesticated back from wolves thousands of years ago were probably selected for because they actually gave eye contact to and were looking to communicate and bridge the communication gap between themselves and humans. So for us, eye contact is very emotional for us. It is a way for us to bond and communicate. But for most predators in the animal kingdom, direct eye contact is very threatening, it's very menacing. So we have selectively bred this eye contact in a lot of our dog breeds to basically appeal to our own emotional needs, which all the more reason then for us as guardians to make sure that we are practicing responsible dog guardianship and keeping their best interest in mind when we assume care for them. And so, of course, it would also stand to reason then that if they are looking to us for communication with eye contact, that they are potentially seeing us more like members of their pack, and so, like social wolves do, they will follow each other around and spend lots of time together. So, thank you, Krista, for submitting that question. That was very fun to go and uncover some of those things that we have evolved into, or we have bred into the domestic dog, and to help us understand the implications of our responsibilities.